Oval Bunnies, and welcome back to another video. My name is Divine Oval and I'm here once or twice a week. So today I decided, as we're transitioning into March, which is Women's History Month, I thought I would do a Black Women's History video. This video is for everyone. If you're not Black or not a woman or both, it doesn't matter because everyone needs to hear this, even if you're just here for the drawing. You may learn something, so just stick around. All of my sources will be linked down below if you want to look into this more, or if anything is wrong, calmly tell me in the comments or take it up on my sources. Without further ado, let's get started into the video. So the first amazing Black woman is Claudette Colvin. Claudette Colvin was born September 5th, 1939. Colvin was very smart and studied hard in school. She had mostly A's and wanted to be a president one day. On March 2nd, 1955, at age 15, Colvin was on a city bus after school when a driver told her to give up her seat to a white passenger. She rebuffed, saying, "It is my constitutional right to sit here as much as that lady. I paid my fare. It's my constitutional right." Colvin felt compelled to stand her ground. I felt like Sojourner Truth was pushing down on one shoulder and Harriet Tubman was pushing down on the other, saying, "Sit down, girl. I was glued to my seat." She later told Newsweek. This actually occurred 9 months before the well-known incident with Rosa Parks. Colvin was arrested on several charges, including violation of segregation laws. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP, briefly considered using the incident to challenge segregation laws, but decided not to because of her age. She also became pregnant, and they thought that would be too much negative attention on a mother. Her son Raymond was born in March 1956. In court, she pleaded not guilty, and they ended up giving her a light sentence, which was probation. She was now seen as trouble and had to drop out of college. It was also impossible for her to find a job due to her reputation. She ended up moving to New York and got a job as a nurse aide until she retired in 2004. Later on, she wrote a biography and is now living in New York. I left out many details, so if you want to know the full story, the link is in the description. All the links to the stories are in the description in order. Unfortunately, she gets little to no attention for this is a huge deal. So she gets little to no attention, while Rosa Parks did the exact same thing and she gets attention. She also did impact too, but I'm just saying that, Claudette did it first. Let's go a little bit back in history and talk about the amazing, inspiring woman, Phillis Wheatley. Phillis Wheatley was born in Senegal/Gambia around 1753. When she was only 8 years old, unfortunately, she was kidnapped and brought to Boston, Massachusetts on a slave ship. When she arrived, she was purchased by John Wheatley as a servant for his wife, Susanna. Now, because this was a custom back then, Phillis adopted her master's last name. So that explains why I say Phillis Wheatley. She was very intelligent, and it wasn't a secret either. Everybody knew she was smart, so Susanna and her 2 children taught her how to read. Wheatley received lessons such as theology, English, Latin, ancient history, Greek, and literature, all that. So as you can imagine, African Americans were not usually allowed to do this. So her life was very different from others. Wheatley wrote her first published poem at the age of 13. More poems followed, and several were published, increasing her fame. She wrote a collection of poems called Poems on Various Subjects, and this is when Phyllis became the first African American woman to publish a book of poems and the third woman to do so in general. The third American woman to do so. Phyllis traveled to London, and at this point she was freed from slavery. Okay, let's just get that straight. Phyllis traveled to London to promote her poems, and when she came back, everything changed. In 1778, Phyllis married a free African American named John Peters. She had 3 children with John that all died in infancy. Their marriage was a struggle because they're constantly battling poverty, and the Revolutionary War weakened her enthusiasm on her poems. She contacted various publishers, but none were interested, and Phyllis Wheatley sadly died in her early 30s, on December 5th, 1784. She will truly always be an inspiration. Next, I'm going to talk about a little girl named Ruby Bridges. You may or may not have heard this story, but if you haven't, or if you have, just stay tuned and I'll tell it. Ruby Nell Bridges was born on September 8, 1954 in Tylertown, Mississippi. When she was 4 years old, her parents moved to the lively city of New Orleans. When Bridges was in kindergarten, she was one of the many African American students who was chosen to take the test to see if she could attend an all-white school. This test was purposefully made very difficult so that if all the African American children failed the test, New Orleans could stay segregated for a little bit longer. In 1960, the Bridges family was informed by the officials from the NAACP that she was one of the only 6 children African American students to pass. She would soon be the first African American child to attend an all-white school in the South. Fearing that there might be some civil disturbances, the judge sent federal marshals to protect her. When they showed up and walked into the school, people screamed and threw things. Most of the parents kept their kids from school, which meant they did not have class that day. When she walked into school, she was immediately sent to the principal's office and spent the entire day there. On her second day of school, it was just as bad, and it was the same for a while. It looked as if she would not attend class like the other students would. Only one teacher would teach her, and her name was Barbara Henry. She was a new teacher to the school from Boston, and Barbara was loving and supportive. But Ruby was still not able to go to the cafeteria or go to recess like the other kids. She stayed in Barbara's classroom the entire day. But she really did impact history, and if you want more details on this story, like I said, link is in the description. I didn't want to say some of the things the people screamed at her, but she was really brave, and she's still alive to this day, by the way. I don't know. I feel like I'm talking in a sense that she's died. No, she's still alive and beautiful, and she was truly brave, because I know if I was 6 years old doing this, I would be crying. But yeah. And before I get into the next person, I do want to note that this video was so hard to make because I figured I only have time for 4 people. So I had to leave out so many amazing Black women that really impacted history, and it was so hard to choose. But, because, I don't know, I just wanted to include, Lena Horne, Billie Holiday, Marsha P. Johnson, Wilma Rudolph. All these people really impacted history, and I only have to choose 4. So I might do another one of these videos, to be honest, because I just feel like I left so many people out. Lastly, we're going to be talking about a wonderful woman named Jane Bolin. Jane Bolin was born in Poughkeepsie, New York on April 11th, 1908. Jane Bolin was the first African American woman to graduate from Yale Law School. After relocating back to New York, she was deemed first African American female judge in the U.S. She served on family court bench for 4 decades. She changed segregationalist policies, including skin-colored based assignments for probation officers. She also did work with former First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt to create a program to help eradicate juvenile crime among young boys. She died in Long Island City, Queens, New York at age 98. The true reason I did want to do this video is because I was never taught this stuff in school, and I would really want to know this because in my schools, the schools that I've been in before, elementary through high, done it all, only pretty much teach me that I was a slave. Pretty much that's it. And it might not be like that in all schools, but in my school it was like that. And there wasn't really much motivation. We were taught about the George Washingtons and the Thomas Jeffersons and all that kind of stuff. But I never really heard greatness come from people that look like me, people that are the same gender as me. So I thought if one person walks away with some information they didn't know, that's a win in my book. So thank you guys for watching. I hope y'all listened. If y'all didn't, that's okay too. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you learned something, and yeah. I really do hope you walked away with some information you didn't know before, because I didn't know this information before. This was sort of like a little research for me, and I was so surprised because there's so many amazing Black women out there, and I had to only choose 4, and that was bizarre to me. But even if you didn't learn anything, if you already knew this stuff, good for you. You either taught yourself or you were taught the right way. But one thing I noticed is that it was mostly white people I was learning about in school, and that's okay, because if we take one specific race out of history books, there are many plot holes, and that's what's happening because they're not putting the African Americans and what they did, what they contributed to history in the books. So there's a lot of things that don't make sense to me, and yeah. But let me stop ranting. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I love y'all. Bye.